Hi, I'm Amy Ramson of the Behavioral Social Sciences Department, and with me is
Linda Ridley. I am a lecturer in the business department here at Hostos Community College.
Hi. We're here to discuss COIL, which stands for Collaborative Online International Learning. COIL is a online international pedagogy where professors from different colleges in, let's say, in the United States and abroad, it can be two partners, it can be three, collaborate together and link their classes. And generally, you do not link entire classes. Generally, the professors will collaborate on projects or assignments, and then the students undertake the assignments or projects collaboratively.
So, one of the things we like about COIL, besides introducing students to areas of the world they may not have been, it gives them a chance to learn about new environments, new ways of thinking. I can say that I am a first time participant in COIL, so I'm learning a lot from Amy. So I'm very excited about the possibilities. I'm going to be introducing my students who are management students in Business 201 to a partnership with a foreign university in Spain for a multicultural exchange project, and we'll talk about that a little later. I'll tell you a little bit about the activity that we'll be planning. As you know, multicultural and multilingual working environments are not exclusive of big multinational companies anymore. So we were considering how mobile people are around the world and the expansion of ICT, Internet Communication Technologies, and the globalization process in general. The business scenario has changed completely. And so we're concerned that we make sure that our students have new professional competencies. Students are expected to be multidisciplinary, often bilingual, with well-developed communication and intercultural skills, as well as self-management and digital skills. So what am I doing in my COIL course? We're going to be developing cognitive, methodological, and social skills, all skills that will serve them well in the future. We'll be looking at globalization, cultural differences, migrations, the internationalization process, even human resource policies in foreign countries. And this bodes well in terms of culture and professional relationships, as well as work environments and relationships in other cultures. So who will I be working with? I'll be partnering with a professor from the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya in Barcelona, Spain. She and I right now have bi-weekly conference calls where we're building the structure for a spring 2020 course. I'm very excited because this professor has already done this telecollaboration many times. She has partnered with faculty from Queens College as well as other parts of the United States. So I feel very comfortable with her leadership. Our project is composed of 5 video conferencing meetings, and we'll be using Zoom, which is an online video communications tool in which students will carry out different tasks that we'll build. So Amy can tell you a little bit about a technology that she uses for her course.
We use Padlet because I'm doing a linkage with someone from Europe, and that's often used there. There needs to be a space where the assignments and or the projects can be shown or can be placed. So that's what we're doing. So what I did was I incorporated into my CJ 101, which is my introduction to criminal justice. I incorporated COIL into that, and I'm linking with a course, which is an international criminal course at the university in The Hague. And it's been fantastic. It's been wonderful, wonderful. We're piloting it this semester, so I'll explain later some of the hiccups that occur. Just a word of advice that you have to be very, very flexible because things don't often go exactly as you planned, but that also makes it a little bit fun. So I just want to show you my course on Padlet, and then I think that you'll understand a little bit better. So any accessible virtual space would be perfect for COIL. For example, Blackboard or Canvas. But as I mentioned before, Padlet is used a lot in Europe. And just like Linda, my partner has already done COIL. I'm not sure how many times, but she had mentioned that Padlet would be good. So we started doing it, and it's ended up to be wonderful. So my course is introduction to criminal justice, and her course is an international criminal justice course. And my students go to a trip to the Bronx Criminal Court to see arraignments, and her students go to the International Criminal Court in The Hague and see genocide trials. So it's been pretty heady. So what I want to show you is the different parts, because Padlet is a bulletin board. And so we broke it up into different columns, and the first column we wanted to welcome the students and give them an introduction to each of the different classes and to the school. So we each gave a welcome message, and then we also videoed our class, and we also did a video. I did a video around hostels, and she showed a video of her college as well. So this column is called course information, and so what we put in there were the different assignment descriptions. And there was a little bit of a problem with her class going to the trip to the criminal court, the International Criminal Court in The Hague. So actually we had to shift things around, and we didn't really want to change the dates. We didn't want to change anything. So what we ended up doing was her students were able to do research on the criminal court and on a trial at the International Criminal Court, and then afterwards they visited as a group. So here we have the course information, and we have the assignment descriptions, which were changed often because of this. Assignment number 2 was changed. And then what we did, lower, you'll see, is we divided up the groups. So all the assignments, except for assignment 1, were done in collaborative groups. So there were 2 or 3 students from the International Criminal Court class, and there were 2 students in my class, because she had more students in her class than I did. And also, even if the students dropped out, we redid the group division, because in a CJ 101 class, a lot of students tend to drop out, and so we kind of just put groups together, and it worked out very well. Okay, so this is the group division done again. Then assignment 1 was our icebreaker, because it's always necessary to have an icebreaker in any group so that people can kind of get to know each other. And what we did was we had the students individually make videos of themselves, and we also had them answer some questions. So I wanted the students in the International Criminal Court class to really get to understand our students and where they live, and so we asked them just very banal, very boilerplate questions about their name, why they're studying criminal justice. But then I also added in, which they thought was kind of funny, but it ended up being a very good question, is what would you say should be a crime that's not a crime in your neighborhood, and or what is not fully enforced in your neighborhood? And so we had a lot of very interesting individual videos, and so here are some of them below, which you can see from my class, and then these are all from her class as well. There's really no order. The students were able to just attach as they did them. But what's really wonderful about these videos was I found out about my students, which maybe you normally wouldn't do because you're not going to be talking to them about these kinds of things. And what I found out about my students is one student said, for example, that he did not have to, that's my dog, that he did not have to take this class, but because he was an immigrant and because he was of color, he felt like it was a very important thing to do. One student mentioned that dogs, and that's why I have my dog photo there, he mentioned that that dogs owners do not pick up after their dogs, and that should be enforced, or that should be a crime. And then I tried to add a little levity, so I did a photo of my dog. Then we have assignment 2, which was where the groups worked together. And it was a blog or an essay that they had to do together. And remember that they were divided into groups. And what they had to do was they had to discuss, again, we gave them questions, but they had to discuss the court proceedings that they saw either online for the International Criminal Court or actually in person. So my students visited the Bronx Criminal Court right up here in 161st Street, and we saw arraignments, which is the first time after a defendant has been arrested that they see the judge, and it has to be 24 hours. And the ones that we saw where people were not put into holding cells, they were given desk appearance tickets, and they were mostly for driving violations. So the students had to get together in groups, and they had to discuss their different court trips. And so these are some of the, this is my students. I took a photo of them. It's good to show as much as possible, show photos, etc. And then this was different groups, different blog assignments. This one was good, but what we found, assignment 3, was fantastic. This was at the end of the semester, so now they've known each other for, 12, 13 weeks. And what they had to do was they had to read about an international criminal court case, in the case of the students in The Hague. And my students had to read about a court case. It actually didn't happen in the Bronx, but it happened in New York State. It happened in Queens County. And so I taught about it in class so that they would be ready to discuss it. But what they did was each of the classes had different questions that they had to answer, and they had to speak to each other. So they had to have a conversation, and they had to record it. So that was really wonderful. So the students first had to explain each of the trials, each of the cases that they read about, and then they had to answer the questions. And then together they had to discuss justice, whether there's justice. They could just speak about whether there was justice as manifested by the case, or whether there was justice in the court system that we have, either in the United States or in The Hague. And it was really, really interesting because the students abroad were talking about genocide. They had a genocide trial, which I think we don't really discuss that much in the United States. And so I think we all, including me, learned a lot. And what was really great was some of the students took some of the time to ask questions of each other about either their lives or something that was not exactly related to the case, and I thought that that was fantastic. And then in the meantime, what we did was Professor Dusterhoff and I actually put in the last column interesting links and articles. So we put each of our cases, our trials there. So if one side wanted to read the trial of the other side, that they could do that. Or I gave them little bits of information. And then at the end of all of this, we are going to do an assessment. So she didn't want to do an assessment together, so we're doing separate assessments, and we're doing a survey of each of our classes. I had gone to a COIL conference, and what's wonderful is that we have a COIL subcommittee on campus, and Linda is part of that, and then we have 3 or 4 other professors. We actually call ourselves a practice group. We're part of the ETLC, but we are really just learning how to do COIL, and so we would love if you would join our group, and we pretty much help each other and help each other find partners. So after you get your partner, it's really, really important to prepare and to spend a long time, and to not think that right away you're going to be able to do this COIL pedagogy. I would say it took me a year, and
I'm planning on the spring, and that's ambitious. But I think only because Professor Fondo in Spain is very experienced, I think we can pull it off. It remains to be seen, but I'm very excited.
right. And then the second thing I think it's extremely important is to be flexible, and you definitely have to collaborate with the other professor and come up with set assignments and dates. I would have a range of dates, because I found that each time we had to extend the dates somewhat. I'd like to say goodbye, and I hope that you join our COIL subcommittee.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.